From the very first steps in life, there are hidden signs that echo like divine whispers to those who, more often than not, are not even aware that they have been chosen by God. Christianity teaches us, through the Bible, that the call of Jesus Christ can manifest even at a tender age, even when a child's heart barely comprehends the complexities of Christian doctrine. Stories such as that of Samuel, who heard the voice of God as a child, serve as a powerful biblical revelation that the Most High speaks even in the innocence of childhood. How many times, without understanding, does a child feel a deep spiritual restlessness, a desire to seek communion, to understand the mysteries of the Bible, or to question hidden truths that the church does not always reveal? These stirrings are more than mere curiosities. They are alerts from Jesus, calling those destined to carry light in a world of darkness. It is unbelievable to think that while others follow the common paths of life, some souls already feel the gentle yet undeniable weight of the sacred call. In addition to a thirst for spiritual knowledge, another striking characteristic in these chosen ones is an extraordinary sensitivity to good and evil, even without fully grasping the concepts of sin or salvation. Even as children, they are deeply troubled when witnessing injustices or practices that go against the teachings of Jesus. They react with astonishment and sadness in the face of religious manipulation, biblical censorship, or the church's lies, as if a divine spark within them recognized the error even before it was explained. This is surprising and reveals a mystery of the Bible, little explored in common biblical studies: spiritual discernment, given by God from an early age to protect His chosen ones from the snares of Satan. It is no coincidence that these children also display respect and curiosity for the angels in the Bible, such as Archangel Michael or Uriel, celestial figures who represent justice and the absolute revelation of the divine plan. These souls, marked by God even in childhood, bear what many would call a heavy burden, but which in reality is an incredible celestial gift. They feel with a startling intensity the presence of the sacred all around them. When contemplating the starry sky, they feel the echo of the paradise lost by Adam and Eve. When they hear about original sin, a restlessness takes hold of their hearts, as if they understood, without words, the gravity of that act. These children see the cross of Jesus not just as a symbol of religion, but as a living reminder of salvation and of the rapture promised in biblical prophecies. Every everyday experience becomes a fertile ground for incredible biblical revelations, even if hidden at first glance. They carry with them the shock and wonder of perceiving truths that adults often ignore, living a childhood marked not by common naivety, but by a profound sense of divine purpose. From an early age, those marked by God often carry a persistent feeling of not belonging, as if their souls do not quite fit the standards of this world. The Bible clearly states that we are not of this world, and this sensation is one of the first biblical revelations that hovers over the chosen ones, even in childhood. It is as if there is a constant echo of alert from Jesus, whispering that there is something beyond visible reality. Children destined by God may feel out of place in environments corrupted by religious manipulation or by distorted Christian doctrines. They do not see themselves in the church's lies and instinctively question what appears incompatible with the teachings of Jesus Christ. It is amazing that, without yet fully understanding concepts such as the apocalypse, original sin, or the end times, they already perceive that they carry within them a celestial call that cannot be ignored. These children, although surrounded by others of the same age, often find themselves immersed in deep reflections on themes that would seem frightening or incomprehensible to their peers. While some play carefree, they ponder the fate of the soul, about hell and heaven, about the salvation and rapture prophesied in biblical prophecies. They are struck by the unknown facts of the Bible, eager to understand every revealed mystery, every shocking secret that, in the eyes of the world, remains hidden. It is incredible how these little hearts feel so intensely the urgency to understand the hidden truths that biblical censorship so often silences. The sense of not belonging, which could be seen as a weakness, is in fact a precious gift, a constant reminder that their citizenship is in heaven, alongside the angels in the Bible, such as Uriel and Archangel Michael, defenders of absolute truth. But there is something even more surprising. This feeling of displacement rarely leads them to despair. On the contrary, It fuels an unceasing quest for biblical revelations that give meaning to what they live. Even as children, they become tireless investigators of the secrets of the Bible, seeking to understand why their lives seem woven with strands of mystery and purpose. They feel restless in the face of the empty and mechanical communion they observe in religious practices around them, intuitively recognizing the manipulations that distort the teachings of Jesus. It is a shock to realize, so young, that there is a pure and untainted Christian doctrine, often hidden beneath layers of tradition and human dogma. This discomfort is not a mistake, but a divine guide meant to lead them to the absolute truth that sets them free. Every doubt, every discomfort with the church's lies, becomes, in truth, a silent invitation from God Himself to seek a profound biblical study and to fully live out their celestial destiny. There are moments in the childhood of those chosen by God when experiences transcend the natural and delve into the realm of the supernatural, revealing themselves as true signs that a divine hand is guiding their steps. It is not uncommon for these children to report vivid dreams and messages that seem to surpass their understanding, yet, curiously, align with biblical prophecies and the teachings of Jesus Christ. Often these dreams involve visions of angels from the Bible, such as Archangel Michael brandishing his flaming sword against darkness, or Uriel bringing light to the hidden truths that religious manipulation tries to conceal. These encounters are more than mere childish fantasies. They are real biblical revelations, hidden from ordinary sight, but destined to awaken the spirit of those marked for great purposes within Christian doctrine. Such experiences leave them with an incredible sense of mission, an irresistible call to deepen their biblical study and to unravel shocking secrets of the kingdom of God. It is both frightening and surprising how these manifestations are not limited to dreams. Children with a celestial calling may sometimes feel spiritual presences in their surroundings, perceive Jesus's alerts through subtle daily signs, or even identify distortions in the apparent communion of certain church practices. They intuit, with an extraordinary sensitivity, when there is falsehood or deception in the doctrines taught, recognizing church lies that the adults around them seem to accept blindly. These perceptions are not by chance. They are unknown facts of the Bible, experienced firsthand by these little servants of the Most High as part of their preparation for their future mission. It is as if God entrusts them, from an early age, pieces of the great spiritual puzzle that biblical censorship tries to hide, preparing them to be beacons of absolute truth in times of darkness and spiritual confusion. These experiences, although laden with revealed mystery and hidden truths, should not be seen with fear, but as an invaluable celestial gift. From early on, God uses these supernatural encounters to strengthen the faith and courage of His chosen ones, shaping their hearts to resist the assaults of Satan and to fervently defend the teachings of Jesus. They are vivid reminders that, despite the attempts at religious manipulation and the biblical censorship prevailing in many institutions, there is a divine truth that transcends formal religion. These supernatural experiences become bridges between the visible and the invisible, between what the church reveals and what it hides, leading the child to an ever-deepening understanding of Jesus' cross, the imminent apocalypse, and the glorious promise of the rapture. It is in this way that, from early on, the predestined soul is molded to embrace its calling with confidence and reverence. From a tender age, those predestined by God feel a weight that goes beyond the common responsibilities of childhood. It is not the kind of obligation that comes from school tasks or family duties, but rather a silent spiritual burden that pulses deep in the chest like a call that cannot be ignored. It is as if the soul, even before fully understanding the Scriptures, feels that it must protect something sacred, perhaps faith itself, perhaps the hidden truths that the world insists on concealing. This early sense of spiritual responsibility is one of the clearest biblical revelations for the chosen ones, and it appears as an echo of Jesus' teachings about watching and praying constantly, remaining vigilant against Satan's snares. These children, guided by an incredible sense of mission, end up becoming guardians of the biblical secrets that religious manipulation and the church's lies have tried to stifle since the earliest days of Christianity. It is unbelievable how, even at such a young age, they feel within themselves an almost indescribable urgency to act according to Christian doctrine, often being troubled by practices they perceive as distant from the teachings of Jesus. While most see biblical fasting, for example, merely as a rigid tradition, these souls understand its depth as a means to strengthen communion with God and to seek spiritual discernment amid life's storms. They wonder, with an almost adult astonishment, about the biblical censorship that hides unknown facts of the Bible, or about the Church's silence regarding the biblical prophecies that announce the end times and the imminent arrival of the apocalypse. This sense of spiritual responsibility drives them to seek more, not to be satisfied with superficial answers. It is as if they can hear Archangel Michael whispering in their ears, "Stand firm, little warrior of faith." This restlessness moves them to act even in the simplest situations of daily life. They notice, for example, that helping a peer in need or defending the truth in a simple conversation at school carries a far greater weight than it appears. In these small actions, they recognize a reflection of the teachings of Jesus Christ about loving one's neighbor, and they see themselves, in a way, as living instruments of biblical revelations. They intuitively understand that their everyday attitudes are essential pieces in the grand spiritual mosaic prepared by God. This early spiritual maturity, which for many might seem a daunting burden, becomes for them an unshakable fuel for faith. And so these children grow up as little beacons of light, guided by Jesus' alerts, steadfast in his cross, and ready one day to carry out their mission to the ends of the earth, defying religious manipulation and finally revealing the hidden truths that the Church never told you. It is astonishing how, even in the innocence of childhood, those chosen by God find themselves surrounded by questions that many adults have never dared to ask. From early on, these restless souls question with disarming sincerity topics involving the apocalypse, the rapture, and even the biblical censures that silence unknown facts of the Bible. They are not satisfied with ready-made answers or with the shallow explanations frequently delivered by institutionalized religion. When they hear about the original sin committed by Adam and Eve, for example, they do not immediately accept what the Church says, but delve deeper in search of hidden truths and shocking secrets that guide them toward salvation. This intense desire to understand what the Church did not tell you transforms every biblical study into an incredible spiritual journey, full of Bible mysteries waiting to be revealed as a true, living, and pulsing biblical revelation. These little disciples, often without realizing it, reflect the guidance of Proverbs 4:7, which says, "Acquire wisdom, acquire understanding. Do not forget, nor turn away from the words of my mouth." From childhood, they carry with them an irresistible impulse to dig deep into the Scriptures, to seek answers about the cross of Jesus and its relation to the promised salvation. They feel spiritually provoked by issues involving the role of angels in the Bible, such as Uriel and Archangel Michael, and they want to understand Jesus' alerts about the end times. They question the meaning of biblical fasting and its true importance, about the practice of tithing and how it fits into God's greater purpose. These questions are not mere childish curiosities, but a divine sign, a reverberation of biblical revelations being whispered to their hearts so that in the future they may become fearless voices against the religious manipulation that haunts modern Christianity. But perhaps the most incredible of all is the courage with which they face unsatisfactory answers. When confronted with the Church's lies or with Christian doctrines that do not align with the pure teachings of Jesus Christ, these children do not remain silent. They challenge the status quo, even if it places them in uncomfortable positions, intuitively realizing that true communion with God requires authenticity and a constant pursuit of absolute truth. This indomitable spirit connects them directly to the prophets of old, who too, from a young age, set out in search of the mysteries revealed by God himself. Thus, every question that springs from their lips transforms not only into an act of seeking, but into a silent cry against biblical censorship, clamoring for answers that unveil the hidden biblical secrets and strengthen their journey toward the promised paradise. From a very young age, those destined by God carry within them an empathy that goes far beyond common human understanding. They feel, almost viscerally, the pain of others, as if every tear shed were directly reflected in their hearts. This is not a coincidence. The Bible teaches, through the examples of Jesus Christ, that a true disciple shares in the sufferings of humanity and takes pity on the afflicted. These children, even without fully understanding the complexities of Christian doctrine, already live this teaching of Christ intensely. They are deeply moved when they see the injustices practiced in the world, especially those promoted by religious leaders who perpetuate manipulation and church lies. It is as if they see with clarity what many do not: the pain caused by biblical censorship, by the hidden secrets and by the hidden truths that prevent the faithful from finding true salvation. It is not uncommon for these compassionate souls to be seen consoling the sorrowful, defending the wronged, and seeking in every way possible to alleviate the suffering they witness around them. Inspired, even if unconsciously, by the teachings of Jesus and by the examples of prophets who came before them, they become little beacons of hope in a world darkened by lies and religious manipulation. They cannot ignore the pain of others, for within them they carry the divine mark of deep empathy, a sacred gift that connects them directly to the compassionate heart of Jesus Christ. It is unbelievable how, even in childhood, they are capable of understanding that human suffering is often linked to the unknown facts of the Bible, to the biblical secrets that have been hidden beneath layers of distorted doctrines. Their actions, however simple they may seem, resonate as alerts from Jesus for those who, tired of manipulation, seek to find true communion with God. Furthermore, this supernatural empathy also becomes a spiritual thermometer, capable of alerting them to malignant presences or environments laden with deception and hypocrisy. They feel, with a frightening clarity, when they are confronted with practices that stray from the teachings of Jesus Christ, or that mask the absolute truth of Jesus' cross under false shrouds of religiosity. They perceive, even without having read each page of the Bible in depth, that something is amiss when the church remains silent about the rapture, about the biblical prophecies concerning the end times, or when it distorts the true meaning of biblical fasting and tithing. This sensitivity is not weakness. It is a precious gift, a living biblical revelation that prepares them to become prophetic voices in the future, challenging the church's lies and illuminating with courage and faith the path for those desperately seeking salvation and the hidden truth in the sacred scriptures. It is almost unbelievable how, without any external imposition, children predestined by God display a spontaneous fascination with Bible stories. While other children delight in secular tales, these chosen souls naturally turn to the scriptures, hungry to understand the mysteries of the Bible and the hidden revelations that permeate its sacred pages. They marvel when they hear about the creation of the world, about Adam and Eve in paradise, and the profound impact of original sin that echoes to this day. It is surprising how these stories, often treated superficially in religion classes, come alive in the minds of these children, who see beyond the words and perceive the hidden truths that biblical censorship attempts to silence. In their hearts, a burning flame for profound biblical revelations is ignited, as if they already carry within themselves the certainty that God has called them to something far greater than the conventional. This spontaneous interest is not limited solely to the well-known narratives of creation or the Exodus. They are especially drawn to the unknown facts of the Bible, such as the alerts from Jesus that have been lost in human traditions or the biblical prophecies about the apocalypse and the end times. They want to understand, for example, the role of angels in the Bible, like Archangel Michael, the celestial warrior of divine justice, or Uriel, guardian of the hidden revelations that the church often avoids mentioning. They question the significance of biblical fasting and tithing, not out of mere curiosity, but because they feel these elements carry shocking secrets that religious manipulation would prefer to keep hidden. This thirst for knowledge, even in early childhood, reveals a profound spiritual calling, as if God himself were guiding their thoughts away from the church's lies and towards the absolute truth of Jesus' cross and the promised salvation. Such fascination naturally transforms into practical action. These children do not merely listen to Bible stories, but live them in their fervent imagination and try to apply them to everyday life. When facing small challenges, they remember how Jesus Christ overcame temptations and trials, using the Word as a spiritual sword. They feel compelled to share what they learn, whether by explaining to a friend the importance of true communion, or by questioning why certain teachings of Jesus have been censored or distorted by the church. This drive to disseminate the biblical truths they discover is more than youthful enthusiasm. It is a clear sign that they are being prepared by the Holy Spirit to someday become fearless messengers of the most incredible and transformative biblical revelations. Even in childhood, they live a silent testimony, proving that the mysteries of the Bible are not reserved solely for scholars, but also for pure souls thirsty to know the secrets that the church did not tell you. Among all the characteristics that mark those predestined by God from childhood, perhaps the most surprising, and at the same time the most frightening, is the way they mature spiritually in the face of adversity. While other children may be deeply shaken by the common difficulties of life, the chosen ones feel something different. It is as if every obstacle awakens within them an even greater thirst to seek the hidden biblical revelations and to understand the Bible's secrets that religious manipulation tries to cover up. These painful experiences, far from driving them away from faith, become powerful catalysts for deepening their communion with God. It is unbelievable how, even amidst suffering, these little servants find strength in Jesus' cross, seeing in their everyday trials clear signs of their celestial calling and of Jesus' alerts about the spiritual battle we face daily. This acceleration in spiritual growth does not happen by chance. The trials are instruments that God Himself uses to refine His chosen ones, preparing them to unveil the hidden truths that remain silent in the interstices of the Bible. It is in the silent tears of the early morning that they feel the presence of Archangel Michael fighting on their behalf, defending them against Satan's onslaughts that seek to stifle their spiritual awakening. It is in nights of doubt that they perceive the whisper of Uriel, revealing shocking secrets and encouraging them to continue on the path of faith. These adversities, which for many would be a cause for discouragement or even rejection of Christian doctrine, for them serve as living proof that God is working a revealed mystery, a spiritual growth that cannot be contained by biblical censorship or by the church's lies. And the most surprising part is that the more intense the adversity, the faster they advance in their understanding of the Word. They come to recognize in tribulations not only tests, but also divine invitations to delve deeper into the unknown facts of the Bible and into the biblical prophecies that announce the end times. They see the need for biblical fasting as a tool for spiritual strengthening, comprehend the true meaning of tithing as an act of communion, and devote themselves with fervor to sincere prayer, knowing that Jesus Christ taught to pray in secret so as to be heard by the Father. These children, even in their youth, become living witnesses that the promises of salvation are real, and that despite the religious manipulation that attempts to erase biblical truths, the absolute truth of God always prevails. They thus become bridges between the present and eternity, destined to reveal to the world what the church did not tell you.